What's up, guys? Here for the Week 6 review. We'll start off by covering the plethora of trades that took place last week. To start, on Wednesday, we had, I believe this is Derek's team trading LaShawn McCoy and Antonio Brown to Orlando's team for David Johnson and Demaryius Thomas. In my eyes, the running backs are fairly equal. David Johnson maybe slightly higher. I'm just basing that off their performances this year. Obviously, Antonio Brown way better than Demaryius Thomas in my opinion, and also I believe that shows with their stats this year. So not really sure what Derek was thinking with that trade. Obviously, it's not atrocious, so I have to let the trade go through. Also, obviously, AB better than DT. David Johnson probably has a little bit more upside than McCoy, but not as much of the difference there. But so that trade was put through. The next trade I have here is it looks like Chad traded Javoris Allen to Steven for Andrew Luck. So I know Steven has been hurting with running backs all year, has Alex Collins, has Fournette, Freeman. Obviously, we got the news on Freeman today. So a little struggling there. Has Cam Newton, doesn't really need Luck. So pushed him over to Chad there. Looks like the next trade we have is Derek and Garrett. Derek sent David Johnson and Kelvin Benjamin for Tariq Cohen, Russell Wilson, and Paul Richardson. Again, giving up the best player in the trade is not usually recommended. He did get an extra player in return here. Obviously, we all know Derek traded for 3 players, didn't play any of them, and got his ass whooped this week. So I don't really understand the concept there. Also, considering the 3 players he got all had pretty solid weeks. It is looking like Tariq Cohen is trending in the right direction. Looks like he will be a decent producer this year. Obviously, Wilson is really turning it on. So I'm not sure if Derek's looking to play Wilson on his lineup moving forward. Paul Richardson, it's whatever. But I feel the same way about Kelvin Benjamin. So, I mean, that's... it's whatever there. Obviously, if David Johnson's not having that great season a lot of people thought, he's on a very poor team. So, not necessarily a horrible trade when you look at it like that. It's just, obviously, David Johnson preseason was perceived to be a top guy, and, it's just not necessarily panning out that way. So, I obviously want to give Derek shit for giving up David Johnson, but, honestly, it might not really be that big of a deal in the long run. Next up, we have Dalton and Dakota. Dalton sent Carson Wentz and Royce Freeman for Amari Cooper and Jameis Winston. I believe Dalton doesn't need Carson Wentz. And I guess he made the trade just strictly off of the week's matchup, getting Jameis, for his matchup versus Atlanta. Amari Cooper and Royce Freeman, both guys have had a lot of hype coming into the season, and both have shit the bed. Probably Cooper shit the bed a little bit worse than Freeman, but it's just kind of trading some bums there, in my opinion. Obviously, Carson Wentz is probably going to be the player that gets utilized the most out of that deal for Dakota. I can't remember right offhand who else he has at quarterback on his team, but see what happens there. I know Cooper, they may be trading him, which would be probably a big benefit to him to be on if he could go to a better team, and maybe he could live up to his potential. Next up, we have it looks like Brian traded with Orlando. Actually, that trade got vetoed, so we won't cover that. But for those who don't know, the trade was Jordan Reed and Alvin Kamara for Ebron, Lynch, and Nelson. Lynch has not played great this year. Oakland keeps getting behind in games, so they're going to have to throw. So if they're behind, Lynch is not in the game. They play Jalen Richard. Ebron, he's produced well, but Jack Doyle's been out of that lineup, and we all know Ebron's history. Jordan Reed, obviously, they're kind of equal. Jordan Reed hasn't quite lived up to the hype, and it's not really meshing well with Alex Smith so far. And Jordy Nelson, he's had a couple good weeks, but, he's really a crapshoot. And giving up Kamara a number 1, first-round draft pick, it just was not fair. So I did have to veto that particular trade. Looking Brian and Dalton made a deal. Brian sent Alvin Kamara and Jamison Crowder for Kenny Golladay and Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, if Bell comes back and gets full-time load, him and Kamara are pretty equal. If not Bell, a tiny bit better, but there is a lot of uncertainty there. Kenny Golladay, head and shoulders above Jamison Crowder. So obviously, Brian's taking that risk with Bell. Dalton gets Kamara. He doesn't have to take that risk, so he also has to give up somebody better. So all in all, pretty even trade. It doesn't get too much more even than that, in my honest opinion. And then today, we had a trade between Joseph and Dalton. Keenan Allen for Mark Ingram. Receiver for a running back. That's pretty as even as it can get, in my opinion there. So that covers the trades. Going to jump in here to the matchups. We'll start with my matchup here. Not close. It wouldn't have been close playing any of you guys. I got an all-star team here, and you guys better hope for the best when you play my team, because it's probably going to be a beatdown. I think this may be a sign of things to come, to be honest. I would have beat any of you guys by 75 points or more. I could have played 2 running backs, a quarterback, and 2 receivers and beat every team. That's just how good my team performed this week. So just saying, this could be a sign of things to come. So just get prepared to get smacked down. Or I'm just using it now because obviously if I get a fucking injury or it's fantasy football, you never know what could happen. So I might as well talk the shit while I can, because I know good and well this could turn for the worse in an instant. So looking at my team, Matt Ryan had 28, Gurley with 36, Saquon with 33, Devonta Adams had 30, Adam Thielen with 24, Allen Robinson got 15, Hooper with 18, Ravens defense got me 19, Crosby with 17. I might have to cut Chris Carson, only getting single digits. I don't know what's going on there, but everybody else getting double digits. This is what I like to see. Not a ton going on the bench. Did have Rodgers with 28. Everybody else is just whatever. And then, for Josh trying to persuade me to play Greg Olsen, he got 7. So I got 10 more points there playing Austin Hooper. So I'll stick with my decision making on things like that regarding my lineup. Looking at Chad, Andrew Luck with 23, Elliott with 18, Coleman with 11. Obviously, Coleman may get an increase in his role with Freeman being out. I think when you get put on IR, you're done for 6 or 8 weeks. Obviously, Ito Smith, I don't believe he's owned in our league, so it'll probably be a big free agent acquisition tomorrow, because he seems to be the goal line back for whatever reason. Didn't get nothing out of his receivers. I know Calvin Ridley left the game with an injury. Funchess did get him 16 negative points out of the Bears defense, and what nobody saw coming, Brock Osweiler lighting them up, which was insane, to be honest. For those of you who play daily fantasy, the guy who won the Millionaire Maker actually put Brock Osweiler and Albert Wilson in his lineup, and that's how you win those things, man. You play the most random ass shit and you get fucking lucky. Next matchup we have here is Dalton versus Phillip. Dalton won this one 122-97, so not really a close matchup either. Did play Jameis Winston, who got him 31, so that trade paid off for him in that manner there. Aaron Jones with 4, nothing. The Packers just don't run the ball. James Conner with 27. It's going on by. That Le'Veon Bell situation may really hurt his value there. We'll see. Sanu had a 12. He also left the game with injury. Jeffrey with a big game, 24. Chester Rogers turned it on late in that game. Ended up getting 14. Njoku with 15. Amari Cooper, nothing. Bengals defense got him -6. All his bench was on bye week or hurt, so nothing going on there. Looking at Phillips' team, Watson sucked. Only got 5 points. Kenyon Drake literally almost cost his team the fucking game, fumbling on the goal line in overtime, but somehow, came back. He made some big plays on the next drive, and, they got the win there, so he saved himself. Murray had a big game with 22. Obviously, Dalvin Cook being ruled out really bumped his value up there. Robert Woods with 16, Jimmy Graham with 13, 14 out of the kicker, and nothing to speak of on his bench. Odell Beckham in his lineup got him 7. I mean, he's really not really done much this year. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the team, but his fucking attitude is just ruining that team. I mean, he's got to get the shit together and be a leader. Or Eli's got to fucking talk. I mean, I don't think that guy said a damn word all year. He just sits back there and looks dumbfounded when he only has 2 seconds to throw the ball. I mean, fucking yell at somebody or something. I mean, geez, it's frustrating for Giants fans, I'm sure. Next up, we got Orlando versus Dakota. This matchup was actually one of the probably one of the closer matchups of the week. Dakota won this one 148-136. This was a pretty good matchup. I believe it boiled down to Sunday night, which was made things probably pretty interesting here. Looking at Orlando's team, Dalton had 17. Melvin Gordon with a big game, 34. Edelman had 14, 19 out of Brown, 15 out of Ebron, 11 out of McCoy, 10 out of Dan Bailey. Nothing going on his bench. Corey Davis struggled, 3 points. He just really had that one big game. I mean, Tennessee's offense sucks. Obviously, Baltimore's defense is pretty stout this year. So, looking over here at Dakota's team, Kirk Cousins was 17, McCaffrey got 10, but he should have had a lot more. I mean, the biggest thing is they're not giving him the ball enough, running the ball. I believe he only had 8 carries in that game. For whatever reason, when they get close, obviously Cam fucking hogs the ball and runs it in and his fucking self. So McCaffrey don't ever get any rushing touchdowns unless he breaks a big one. So don't really understand it there. I'm a little upset because I played McCaffrey in my DraftKings lineup, and if I could have got some production out of him, I could have won a little bit more money. Jordan Howard, I don't really know what's going on with him. He only had 5 points here. I mean, they're just letting Cohen play a ton, so he's just not getting, I think, enough work. He's obviously not going to see much in the passing game. And the offense kind of sputters on and off with Trubisky, so we'll see. I mean, there could be better days to come there. Hopkins with 15, Tyreek Hill obviously murdered it, got 36. That's what really gave him the victory here. I believe he had 3 touchdowns in that game. His speed is just elite. I mean, it's top notch. He could probably fucking run the Olympics, I'm sure. I mean, I think he runs like a 4.27 or something ridiculous. I mean, the one play he caught, it was perfect throw, caught it in stride, and it looked like the safety had the angle, and he just burned him. I mean, nothing the guy could do. Julio Jones, great matchup, got 19 points, still can't find the end zone. I don't know if they need to get some medication. I think he's allergic to the end zone, or Matt Ryan's allergic to throwing to him in the end zone. I don't know what's going on there. But, if he could find touchdowns, he would just be insanely great in fantasy. As it is, he don't score no touchdowns, and he still puts up top 10 numbers, so it's pretty crazy there. Gronk with 11, Baldwin with 12, Vikings with 13, and Vinatieri with 10. So it looks like his whole lineup scored double digits as well, except Howard. He could have had more points. He had Peyton Barber on the bench with 19. Could have got some more points at quarterback. Carson Wentz outperformed Kirk Cousins there as well. All right. Next up, we got Garrett versus Joseph. Garrett won this one pretty easily. It was 131-97. Ben Roethlisberger with 21. Kareem Hunt with the big game, 27. Johnson with 12. Green with 12. Jarvis Landry sucked. Ryan Grant sucked. Kelsey only had 9. Obviously, you expect a little bit more out of him. Bilal Powell was 6. Crowell wouldn't sit out the fucking game. So Powell didn't get a ton of work like I would have really liked him to. Texans defense really showed up, 21 points. Got lucky Peterman threw that late interception. That really helped him out there. Bucker with 18. Not really much going on the bench. Over to Joseph's team, Mahomes with a big day, 27. Philip Lindsay had 10. Keenan Allen with 12. Emmanuel Sanders with 21. Quincy Enunwa got negative .6. Jared Cook shit the bed with 2 points. Titans got a point. Matt Bryant got 13. Had Taylor Gabriel on the bench with 14. Could have helped him out a little bit there, but not much else to speak of. But obviously, Garrett and myself are the only two undefeated teams. There's been a lot of chatter this week that some of you guys think Garrett's team's going to beat mine in Week 11. If teams stay the way they are, as far as health is concerned, I will literally bet anybody in this league $100 that my team beats Garrett. I'm better than him at quarterback. I'm better than him at running back. I'm better than him at receiver. Tight end, he does have the advantage there. And defense and kicker, I mean, that's a fucking toss-up. I mean, that could happen. That's either week. But for you guys to think he can beat my team, you're kidding yourself. So, unfortunately, we don't play to Week 11. But if you guys want to make that bet, I will take that bet anytime. Obviously, as long as my team stays intact the way it is. Obviously, if I have injuries, it's a different case. And obviously, if Garrett has injuries, you guys aren't going to probably feel the same about his team. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how much you guys want to talk shit if you guys want to back it up with some coin. Next up, we got Josh and Derek. Josh won this one. It was 102-84. Josh had Rivers with 14, James White with 12, Joe Mixon with 16, Sean Jackson got 10, Trey Burton got 10, and basically 10 out of everybody else in his lineup. On down, his flex, defense, and kicker. Nothing going on his bench. I believe he will get Greg Zuerlein back this week because I think the Rams just cut Santos or are planning to cut him, which would be a sign that Zuerlein is coming back. Sammy Watkins in his lineup, 3 points. I mean, Watkins is a crapshoot. I mean, he's always been boom or bust his whole freaking career. I've never been a fan of him. Brandon Cooks was 6. I know he was coming back off the concussion, and it was freezing in Denver, and they just pounded Todd Gurley all game. So looking over here at Derek's lineup, all right, so right off the bat, we can see all his horrible coaching decisions this week. He had Jared Goff in the lineup, 7 points. Had Wilson on the bench, who had 21. So there's a 14-point swing there. He only lost his matchup by 18. Sony Michel, of course, he's playing him, 23. Alfred Morris got 0. Now, I didn't really see that coming. I believe he only played 1 snap in the game. They played Raheem Mostert. Never heard of this guy before. Apparently, there's no injury on him. It's just whatever the coaching's decided. I can't really blame him there because I don't think anybody really saw it coming necessarily. I believe Breida ended up playing, but you would still expect Morris to be involved. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but I can't really blame Derek for that. Had Smith-Schuster with 16, Will Fuller only had 4 points, Demaryius Thomas 13, Rudolph with 6, Lamar Miller with 8. Rams defense 3, kicker got 3. But if you look at his bench, he had Chris Godwin on the bench with 15. It's tough to say you would throw him in there. He did have a really good matchup, but I'm not sure if you're going to throw him in there over Will Fuller necessarily. I probably would have played him over Demaryius Thomas, but it wouldn't have made a big difference. Just a point there. Obviously, you had Tariq Cohen on the bench who had 20. Really, you don't really know if you're going to throw him in there either. Obviously, he's probably on the same level with Lamar Miller and Alfred Morris, in my opinion, so you just kind of whatever. With Morris playing on Monday night, it makes it tough because you got to wait on Matt Breida's injury status, so it's tough. I mean, obviously, we want to rip on him for all these points on his bench, but at the same time, you got to make the decisions before the points happen, so Paul Richardson, not a chance I would have fucking played him over any of the other guys. So, not too much to talk about there. Obviously, a few changes could have helped things break his way, but it is what it is. And then the last matchup we have here is Steven versus Brian. Obviously, we all know Brian is like essentially a bye week. It's like an automatic win. So Steven won this one 117-84. Steven had Cam Newton with 23. Alex Collins finally got the ball in the red zone and got 2 touchdowns this week. Got 17. TJ Yeldon got shut down by my Cowboys. I didn't see him having a good game because of the way Dallas plays. We control the clock, just not a lot of possessions. So I kind of saw that coming. Damn sure did not see us winning 40-7. Didn't actually see us winning that game at all. So little surprise there. Tyler Boyd with 27. Ertz continues to produce with 14. Goskowski got him 22 at kicker. Had Jacksonville defense with -1. O.J. Howard on the bench with 14. Could have got a tiny bit more tight end, but there's no way you're playing Howard over Ertz. We look over here. Well, if we continue on Steven's team, 1 point out of Cup. He did leave that game with an injury, but I believe he returned. So he's kind of back and forth. And with all the injuries and stuff going on with his team, he was kind of forced to play both Baltimore running backs. Obviously, he got 20 points out of both of them together. So if you go 10 each, I mean, it's not horrible. Looking at Brian's team, Tom Brady produced 22 points. Crabtree had a nice game with 18. Aguilar had 11. Negative points out of his defense. Did have D.D. Westbrook on the bench who had 11. Could have got some more points there. Not much to talk about. I mean, I don't think necessarily anybody did bad on his team outside of his defense. But if you look at his team, his players just aren't guys who you would expect to get a lot of production out of. So obviously he's got some decent guys on his bench: Bell, Galladay, T.Y. Hilton, who's been hurt for a while. So when he gets those guys back, maybe his team will be able to compete a little bit. We'll see how it goes. Coming up this week, it looks like I'm going to be smacking up Dalton. I'm sure Dakota's going to smack up Phillip, Orlando, and Joseph. I mean, it's like a 16-point line right now, but that's should be a pretty close matchup in my opinion. Derek and Chad. Looks like Chad's got a good advantage there. Obviously, Garrett's got the bye week this week, and then and Josh and Steven should probably be one of the more competitive matchups this week. Both of them at 4-2, and it's right now it's a 4.3 line. So we'll see how that goes. Best of luck to everybody this week. Let the trades flow. Seems to be a big thing so far. So good luck to everybody. I'll have rankings up shortly.